The lights of the Christmas market glowed softly in the evening air, wrapping the small town square in a warm and gentle shine. Snowflakes drifted down with unhurried grace, settling on coats, scarves, and the rooftops of wooden stalls. Ella stood near the edge of the cobblestone path, hugging her long coat closer to her chest as she watched couples laugh, families sip hot cocoa, and friends exchange gifts. At first glance, everything looked beautiful, like a scene from a postcard. Yet inside her, the night felt heavier than the cold wind touching her cheeks. She had come for a blind date, something she had agreed to only because her coworker insisted it would be a charming Christmas surprise. She had told herself earlier that afternoon that it might be nice, maybe even healing, to let someone new step into her life. But as she replayed the last 20 minutes in her mind, all she felt was the sting of rejection and the quiet ache of disappointment. The man she was supposed to meet, Andrew, had taken one look at her, forced a thin smile, and muttered something about not feeling a connection. He hadn't even stayed long enough for a cup of cocoa. His footsteps disappeared into the crowd before she could gather the breath to respond. Now the lights felt too bright. The music felt too cheerful. And she felt strangely out of place, like the single puzzle piece that never fits the picture. Ella took a slow breath and reminded herself that it was fine. People were allowed to walk away. People were allowed to not choose her. But as she turned to leave, her heart sank a little, because she had hoped, truly hoped, that tonight would be different. That maybe this Christmas she wouldn't feel so alone. Her boots crunched softly against the snow as she began to walk toward the street. She didn't hurry. She didn't hide her disappointment. She simply followed the long, winding path past the glowing stalls, letting the cool air calm the tightness in her chest. She wanted to go home, curl under a blanket, and pretend this night never happened. But then something tugged gently at her sleeve. It was so light she almost thought it was a branch, or maybe a drifting thread. When she turned, she saw a little girl standing beside her. Tiny, no older than 6. Her cheeks sparkled with melted snowflakes, and her bright red mittens clutched a small stuffed reindeer. Her eyes, wide, brown, curious, looked straight into Ella's as though searching for something she couldn't yet name. "Hi," the little girl said softly, her voice gentle but clear against the noise of the crowd. Ella blinked, surprised. "Oh, hello there. Are you lost?" The girl shook her head firmly, soft curls bouncing around her pale pink hat. She stepped closer, still holding onto Ella's sleeve like she was afraid Ella might disappear. "No, I'm not lost," she said. Then she paused, swallowing nervously. "But I think you look sad." Ella's breath caught. She glanced around, half expecting a parent to rush over. But no one did. People hurried past them, distracted by music, treats, and gifts. The world didn't seem to notice the small moment forming between them. "Well," Ella said slowly, "I'm okay. Just a little cold. Shouldn't you be with your family?" The girl's eyes flickered toward the far end of the market. In the distance, a man stood near a stall selling glass ornaments. He looked too tired for his age, like someone who had been carrying more weight than one person should. He watched them from afar, but didn't move closer. Instead, he gave the child a small nod, as if encouraging her. The little girl turned back to Ella. "My name is Lily." "That's a beautiful name," Ella said with a small smile. "I'm Ella." Lily hesitated, then asked, "Ella, do you like Christmas?" Ella nodded. "I do. Usually. Some years feel easier than others." Lily looked at her for a long moment, as if thinking deeply, weighing something important. And then, with a sudden burst of courage, she took Ella's hand in both of her little mittened ones. "Can you be my new mom?" she asked. The world seemed to stop. The music, the lights, the drifting snow. Even Ella's heartbeat seemed to freeze mid-motion. "What?" Ella whispered, not sure she heard correctly. "Can you be my new mom?" Lily repeated, this time with soft urgency, like she had been holding the question inside her for too long and it finally burst free. "You look kind. And you're alone. And Daddy says it's okay to talk to people who look kind." Ella gently knelt so she could be eye level with her. Confusion mixed with warmth, surprise, and something she couldn't yet name. "Sweetheart," she said softly, "you can't just ask someone that. Where's your mom?" Lily's gaze dropped to the snow. "She went to heaven last Christmas." Ella felt her heart twist. A year. A whole year for a child so young. A whole year for a man who now stood alone near the ornament stall, watching cautiously, letting his daughter lead a moment he didn't dare interrupt. "I'm sorry, Lily," Ella said quietly. That must be very hard. Lily nodded once, bravely. Daddy's sad a lot. I try to make him smile, but I think he gets lonely too. Then she looked up again, eyes shining with something delicate. But when I saw you, my heart felt warm, like I know you from before, and I thought, maybe you're the person we are supposed to meet. Ella felt her throat tighten. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to respond to such innocence, such raw honesty. She glanced again at the man in the distance. He met her eyes, hesitated, and then finally began walking toward them with slow steps. When he reached them, he gave an apologetic smile. "I'm so sorry," he said gently. Lily tends to follow her heart a little too boldly sometimes. I didn't want to stop her if she felt safe, but I hope she didn't frighten you. Ella rose to her feet, brushing snow from her coat. Not at all. She's very sweet. Just very direct. The man laughed softly, though sadness lingered beneath the surface. Yes, that's Lily. Then he extended a hand. I'm David. She shook his hand. His grip was warm, steady, respectful. Ella. Thank you for being kind to her, he said. She doesn't open up to many people. Ella glanced down at Lily, who leaned gently against her leg as though she had known her for months, not minutes. There was something about the child, something soft, hopeful, unguarded, that tugged at something deep inside Ella. The loneliness that had wrapped around her earlier slowly loosened, replaced by a quiet warmth. It's okay, Ella said softly. Really? David hesitated again, looking embarrassed. I hope she didn't confuse you. She's still trying to understand things. This time of year is difficult. Ella nodded gently. I understand. Christmas can hold a lot of memories. David seemed relieved by the softness in her voice. For a moment, they simply stood there, watching snow fall under the golden lights. Then Lily gently tugged at Ella's coat. Can we have hot cocoa? She asked. David sighed. Lily. It's okay, Ella interrupted with a small smile. I don't mind. Lily beamed instantly, grabbing Ella's hand as though claiming it belonged to her now. The gesture made David chuckle and shake his head, but he followed closely behind as they walked toward a small wooden stall where steam curled softly above cups of cocoa topped with tiny marshmallows. They sat at a little wooden bench nearby, the snow creating a quiet blanket around them. Lily talked non-stop, about her school, her stuffed reindeer, how she liked snowflakes but not when they melted down her sleeves. Ella listened, her heart warming with every innocent sentence. David watched silently at first, almost in disbelief at how open Lily was being. Then he joined the conversation, telling Ella how he worked as a carpenter, how he built furniture for people around town, and how Lily supervised him by sitting on boxes and giving serious advice that made no practical sense but always made him smile. As they talked, Ella realized something surprising. The ache from earlier had completely faded. Not because she had forgotten the rejection, but because the rejection suddenly felt insignificant compared to the warmth now blooming inside her. The bench felt small and intimate, sheltered by the golden lights above it. Lily leaned against Ella's arm as she sipped her cocoa. David's voice grew gentler each time he spoke, and Ella felt, almost impossibly, like she had stepped into a moment that was meant for her all along. At one point, Lily looked up at the sky and whispered, Mommy used to say Christmas brings surprises if you look with your heart. David's breath caught, but before he could speak, Ella gently placed a hand over Lily's mitten and said, I think she was right. They fell into a comfortable silence, the kind that feels like a blanket wrapped around tired shoulders. Snow continued to drift, slow and peaceful, settling on eyelashes and scarves. The air smelled of cinnamon and pine. And for the first time in a long time, Ella didn't feel like the extra piece of a puzzle. She felt like she was sitting exactly where she was supposed to be. As the crowd slowly thinned, David cleared his throat. Ella, I don't know how to say this without sounding forward, but thank you. Tonight has been the first time Lily has laughed this much in a long while. Ella smiled softly. She's a bright little girl. Anyone would be happy around her. But it's more than that, David said. She chose you. She never does that with strangers. He paused, searching her eyes. And you didn't pull away. Ella felt her heart flutter. She didn't know how to explain the quiet pull she had felt the moment Lily touched her sleeve. It wasn't something she understood fully, only something she recognized deep in her chest. I didn't want to, she said finally. David let out a slow breath, almost like relief. Would you, Maybe like to join us for dinner tonight?